About to record.
Let me go. Got it.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Today is January 21st, 2022. Welcome to the New Year. Happy New Year. This is Tim with Testdemy. And I have with me today joining is Robin Williams from out of Georgia.
Yeah.
How you doing, Robin, this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm doing good. Robin and I, we were just kind of catching up prior to the recording starting, just kind of give some background. So first of all, I got to say congratulations on, she just landed a new job in quality assurance, which is exciting. So, tell me how you feel, man. I know it's exciting, now that you finally got, because you told me before when we went back and forth email, and I'll give a backdrop here shortly, that you've been always wanting to kind of get into quality assurance. Can you just kind of tell me how you feel now that you finally got the job you were looking to get?
Oh, I feel amazing. I feel really amazing. It took a lot of interviews and a lot of, watching your videos and, just trying to kind of educate myself. But it's pretty amazing.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good. So let me just kind of give everybody a background here. So Robin had reached out to me. I don't remember I think it was maybe sometime in maybe like November, December 2021.
It was November. Mm-hmm.
And I have people reach out all the time asking questions about, how they can get interviews and get a job. And like I did for you, I think I responded the best I could. And sometimes I apologize if I don't respond in time. I might forget to check that email. I have so many email addresses. So I responded to her email and I sent her the link to our Testdemy course to take it in. I can't recall, did you already take the interview before you watched the course, or you had a chance to watch the course then go to your interview? I couldn't recall.
Well, there were actually several interviews I had to go through for this. I think I reached out to you after my first interview.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So why don't you, before we go into that, why don't you just kind of tell us a little bit about your background, and your professional background, right? As far as where were you prior? What was your experience like? Did you already have some kind of technical software testing background? That's the first part. And what made you want to kind of get into, software testing?
Well, I've been in IT for about 15 years, mostly doing technical support.
Okay.
Obviously, really not liking technical support, the actual like phone and customer facing aspect of it. And I've tested in different roles. I think I started testing back in 2014. Mm-hmm. I was working on this SAP application, and they needed some testers, so I was assisting with the testing. Okay. And I was like, I like this, it's pretty cool. Nice. And in different roles I've been in, after that there would be like a new feature or something like that, and we would have to test that. Okay. And so I actually accidentally landed in the QA space in my last position, my last role. I thought I was being hired for implementation, mm-hmm. but it was mostly testing. It was like 95% testing. Nice. I would do configuration and stuff, but it was mostly testing. Okay. And I really enjoyed it, just kind of finding bugs and stuff. And so I was like, oh, I need to look for another role. So
was that role that you said you didn't expect it to be testing? Was that role was it like a consulting kind of job? How did that? Because it seemed like, did that come to an end? Why is that the reason why you went to go look for another QA role? What happened there? Remind me.
So it was supposed to be kind of like consulting, and that's what I thought I would be doing, because that's what I applied for. Right. And I guess they kind of switched it a little bit and needed someone in maybe the QA space. Okay. And so I kind of transitioned into that quickly. And it was, like I said, about 5% configuration, but mostly it was QA. After development, they did their code and everything, then we would have to test for bugs and stuff. Okay.
So like how long did that role last for?
2.5 years.
2.5 years, okay. And you were primarily doing about 90 to 95% testing?
Yes, 95% testing.
So I guess the gist here is when you were done with that, then the seed already planted pretty good, right? Like now you're like, okay, did you enjoy it to an extent? Obviously you must have enjoyed it to an extent to now want to actually get into a full-time QA role. Was that kind of like your mindset shift there?
That was my mindset. I was just like, because prior to that, I explained that I was doing technical support. And I was like, okay, do I want to go into development? I was just trying to figure out which area I wanted to go into. And, luckily I landed in the QA space.
Okay. So let's kind of talk about the position now that you kind of got right now. Again, congratulations.
Thank you.
So first of all, was this a company you've kind of been targeting? And was this a role that you found came up? How did you find out about the role first? I think a lot of people will be interested in people that are trying to get into a QA position, or people that might be like yourself that maybe have some kind of technical background, or maybe a little exposure to testing, but they really want to kind of go full throttle and make it a career. So how did you figure out about this company and the role? How did you kind of get to that, to know the role was even available, the position?
Actually, this was one of our clients. Well, some of our clients use this particular company.
Right.
And so we had to learn how to do integration with their software.
Gotcha.
And so I started researching the company, and I was like, oh man, this seems like a really great company to work for.
Okay.
And the more I did research, I applied for the position, and I looked at even their interview process, how thorough they were.
Right.
And just, lucky to have gotten into this space with this,
So you kind of researched the company, which shows initiative on your part, which is huge, right?
Yeah.
You liked the way they did testing and things like that. And you decided to apply for the role. So did you already kind of know some people in the company at the time before you applied?
No, I didn't know anyone at the company, actually.
So let's talk about your resume. I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. So when you initially applied for the role, obviously before you took a course, Testdemy Course, you had already applied. So you obviously had to have a resume. You took initiative, applied for the position. You did the first interview. Now, tell us about your resume. How did you begin to formulate your resume as far as putting QA things on it? Was it from the things you had in the past? Can you tell us more about that? How your resume kind of was built?
Actually, I got some assistance. I kind of cheated on my resume. I got my resume professionally done.
Nice. That's smart.
And I told the female that did my resume, I said, I want it to be mostly QA driven. I want, to highlight my testing skills.
Right.
I want to bring that out. And that's what she did. She really tailored my resume to QA.
No, that's smart. So this is a gem that Robin just dropped off. You guys caught that, right? So if you have quality assurance background, maybe you get some kind of exposure, maybe through a project in the past, or you took a course that you worked on some projects. She just dropped a major gem here. I think a lot of times people, we tend to be hesitant on investing in ourselves, but if you notice what she did, she invested in a professional resume writer. They'll help you construct your resume from a professional standpoint. I think that's huge, because that's kind of the same thing I did, Robin, right? Just kind of share. Right before I got into some of these big time quality assurance role I did, because I worked for a lot of Fortune 500 companies, you name it, I worked for some of the biggest ones in quality assurance. And one of my sisters that lives out in New Jersey, she's an HR professional. So she's an HR director. She understands hiring, recruiting, all this stuff. So I sent her my resume, which I thought was the bomb, right? I thought it was a top-notch resume. And she just revised and reconstructed the whole thing. That now, one of the top jobs I got, which is a couple of years ago, I was talking to my manager after he hired me. He was like, oh yeah, when he was going through all the resumes, something about my resume just popped up. Mm-hmm. It just stood out among all the resumes. This is before I'm even reading. And you have to keep in mind, when these hiring managers are going through resumes, they're going through they give me a resume, maybe 1 or 2 seconds. He said mine just stood out, something about the way my resume was looked, the formatting, the structure, and bam. He was able to look at it. I got the interview and I got the job. So just, that's a huge gem she dropped. I hope you guys caught that. So I want to encourage you guys, endeavor to, invest in yourself professionally. And also, if you have got a professional resume writer, go ahead and do it, man. It's going to be worth it. Whatever you spend, think about it. When you start getting paid big time, making the big bucks, man, and elevating your career, you're going to see that seed you planted as far as that professional resume writer was huge, right? And if you guys take the course, I do provide a sample of my resume. Again, you have to take the course. I do provide some of my resume so you guys see the format. Don't copy it.
Right.
But you can kind of look at the format and kind of use yours. So that's one thing you get if you decide to take the course. So Robert, I appreciate you explaining. So let's kind of dig to the interview. So you applied. So tell us how your first interview went before you took the course. How did that go?
So my first interview went well. It was mostly questions of, tell me a little bit about yourself. What would you do? Like a lot of scenario questions. Okay. But I thought it went really well. I connected with the manager. I researched the company a lot. And but then, she was like, I thought it would only be one, maybe two interviews, but then it turned into about 5. So
Oh, wow.
I was getting nervous then.
So what made you begin to, since you've already done the first interview, what made you begin to like reach out to us or do some more research as far as interviewing? Because most people say, hey, I got an interview, I'm good. What the heck do I don't need no more, no more help. Or I can't recall, was it that you already had reached out to us and before I responded, interviews already took place? Was that what happened?
Well, no. So I've been, prior to this interview, I had been on other interviews, maybe about 10 other interviews. And I was like, okay, so what am I doing wrong here? Because I'm not landing. And that was unusual for me because I'm pretty good at interviewing. Right. And so I was just trying to figure out what I was doing. So I was looking at videos all along, but then I stumbled upon yours after the first interview.
Yeah, that made you reach out. So guys, thank you so much. Another gem she dropped. Notice the persistence, right? And she took about 10 interviews, but she kept, you don't quit, right? You just keep going, and go after it over and over till you find, till you nail it, right? So her persistence, you can see that. Another thing I noticed about you, Rob, which I think is huge, you do a lot of research and due diligence, which is huge. You do due diligence on the company, on the role, on quality assurance, watching YouTube videos, which is great, man. That kind of gives you the edge, because whenever you're interviewing, you always want to look for an edge, and it's going to come out in your interview. That gives you your confidence, right? You might not know it, but subconsciously, right, when you guys are interviewing, and I'm sure Rob can attest to it, subconsciously, your confidence is going to come from your research and the knowledge base you kind of built up. So when you're talking, you're going to talk with a little more faith and confidence, even if you don't have that much QA experience. But the fact that you watch YouTube videos on QA, you've done a lot of research, the company, you've done research on quality assurance, is going to kind of help, build your faith. So no, I think that's great. So you say you came across our video. So was there any particular video that stood out to you that kind of got your attention and really kind of helped, move the needle?
Yes, and I probably watched that video like 20 times.
Oh, okay.
It was the one you were like, I don't remember the title of it, but I think it was like how do you get into the QA space?
Right.
And so like as far as interviewing. Nice. And that was an awesome video.
Was that the one that said talk about how to ace your QA position? That one?
Yes, that one. That.
Good. Yeah, that's pretty popular one. A lot of people leverage that. And I kind of I have that also in the course, and also actually put more information on that in the course itself. So you went through the first interview, which is awesome. Congratulations, you passed the first test, right?
Thank you, right.
So you went to the second one. So by the time you took the course, the QA course, what were some things that kind of stood out that kind of helped prep you and give you more confidence going for your, other interviews that are coming up?
Definitely, it was one particular thing you were saying, and it was kind of like my same experience, where how I landed into the testing space.
Gotcha.
So I started back when I was like in 2014 when I was working for the company where I told you the SAP testing.
Right.
And so I started to use that and tailor it to my particular experience. Gotcha. But that really stood out the most. And just kind of like, going in detail, talking about beta testing, how I volunteered, because I actually did volunteer for testing in a couple roles. Good. So just, saying those things and, just kind of definitely in the, I think you mentioned in the, when they say, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Right. So
kind of trying to take control and tell them everything before they, have a whole bunch of questions to ask me.
Right. And did you notice, I'm going to break that out some more. And did you notice by the time you did subsequent interviews, you kind of were talking about the same thing? You felt like you're repeating yourself, especially when you're interviewing with different people, right? Because that's a strategy too, right? You might interview, let's say, with a hiring manager. You might interview with a team lead. You might interview with a team member. You might interview with a director. But you're tailoring to tell me about yourself in these different aspects. And you're pretty much saying the same thing over and over. You might be repeating yourself, but did you notice you were doing that, kind of repeating the same thing over and over?
Yes, definitely. In all of the 5 interviews, I was repeating myself.
Good. And she noticed, she mentioned some things, guys, right? There was a video I did, because I had some people send me some questions about how to get into QA with no experience. And one thing I mentioned on the video was that one huge thing, and Robin, I commend you, you take a lot of initiative, was volunteering. And somebody else said, oh, they don't believe in that. But I'm a testament. I volunteered when I worked for an airline company back in the day. She volunteered doing SAP testing. So if you guys have an opportunity to get into a company, you might be a secretary. It doesn't matter. You can be in a different role, but if you have an opportunity that comes where you can volunteer in the QA department or in the software testing department, think about it. Most companies aren't going to tell you no, it's free, especially if you've already done what your day-to-day job and you have extra time. They're going to help you, especially if you build relationships. So I want to just, hone in on that gem, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, if you see the opportunity to volunteer in QA roles, that's another great way to get started without it costing you anything. It's not going to cost the company anything. It's your drive that's going to take you to the next level. So that's a huge gem there. So so you went through the interview process. Through it, how did when it came to the rates? Obviously, you don't have to discuss your rates. How did you go by? Did you get to the point you have to negotiate your rates, or did they just say this is how much you're going to make and you just accepted it? You might just kind of explain it there.
So I did. So I gave them a range. I did some research. I did some research on QAs in Atlanta, and I gave them a range, and they were able to meet me within my range.
Oh, perfect.
So.
Okay, good. So what would you tell somebody that's maybe looking to, get into QA? What would be somebody like maybe the top three thing, advice or counsel you give someone looking to get into QA that was in your position that's looking to get in their dream role?
So like you, I'll piggyback on what you said, just kind of volunteering, doing some exploratory testing.
Gotcha.
Anytime that something is available, jumping in and being a beta tester, that would be great. And also just doing some research on your own. There are a lot of good videos on YouTube. Right. Tim's video is perfect. And I think that, just kind of doing research on your own, volunteering, that would land you in the QA space.
Okay, awesome. And what would you say, like, what was the biggest hurdle you had to overcome as far as landing? Because, I got to commend you again. Like she said, this is kind of a role she really wanted, which is why when you emailed me and said you got through, I was so excited. I was like, what? When you say you got the job, I was so excited because I know going through the interview process, you were telling me in the email, you were like, oh, you really wanted it. Whenever somebody really wants a position, not too many people really want something like that. So when you say really want, I was like, oh man, I hope she gets this job. So that's why sometimes I was emailing, trying to give as much detail I could to help. And I was like, man, I hope it helps. I mean, I don't know, but I'm glad. I was so excited when you got it. So what would you say was the biggest hurdle you had to overcome as far as going through the process of interviewing and landing this job when it came to QA?
The biggest hurdle for me was the rejections in the interviewing process because, we're human. Right. We're going to get discouraged, right. And, we're going to take it personal. Like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not passing these? So that was my biggest challenge. But then I didn't give up because I really wanted to be in the space. Nice. And so I just said, maybe it's, some things I can learn from this as far as, just kind of doing research, trying to see, what mistakes I was making, right. What can I add to it and things like that. So that was my biggest hurdle, just, actually. And then I feel like what's meant for you is for you, because all of the positions that I interviewed for, this one is the best role, the best company. So I feel in my heart. So.
No, it's good because having a QA career is good, right? And you, I think before the interview started, you and I were talking, and you said this is a manual role, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So the good thing about being in a manual role is you have a lot of opportunity not only to learn the fundamentals of QA, learn a lot of quality assurance tools, maybe database tools are going to be used in tests. Almost every software company is going to use some kind of database, right? So database testing, and also the great opportunity you have, Robin, it is just encourage anybody else, is now you have a great way to learn automation for free.
Yes, I was going to mention that. Yes, that's my next step.
For free. And that's huge because what's going to happen, let's say you decide to move on from this company and elevate your career, right? Or maybe it's even within this company. The truth is, for the past maybe 5-10 years, quality assurance has been going from manual testing, which used to be a lot of manual testing job, a lot to automation. So if you're able to pick up at least 1 or 2 automated testing tools, learn some kind of programming while you're there as far as how to program your test cases, oh my gosh. Whatever you're making right now, go ahead and write your own check times 10x.
Right.
Seriously.
Right.
What you can learn automation testing. So I'm just saying, you guys, just encourage everyone. It's a stepping stone. So you get in, get the job, get manual testing, learn there for the next 6 months to a year as best as you can, because you have to learn how to automate. You have to understand manual testing before you can begin to automate those manual test cases, right? But once you understand that manual piece, oh wow. At the same time, begin to learn automation. You have it for free. Talk to your manager, volunteer again for automation projects, sit in on the meetings, ask questions to the lead developer. A lot of times companies might bring like an automation engineer to automate their test cases. Spend time with that person, take them out to lunch, learn from them, go do your own research. And before you know it, you're going to be into automating. And now you can add that to your resume, which is going to take your career to the next level. So I'm definitely excited for you, Robin. So is there anything you want to leave? Because I think our time is almost up. Is there anything you want to kind of leave with anybody that, like I said, was in your shoe and that might be, considering getting security? Anything you want to kind of leave with them?
Definitely don't give up. There are going to be days where you are going to get discouraged, but, take that and use that as a, way of, kind of stepping up and saying, hey, let me research, let me see what I need to do to make this happen for myself, because you owe it to yourself. Gotcha. And so definitely research, definitely volunteer if you can. And it'll happen, but it takes patience and it takes definitely drive, because you definitely, you can get to wherever you want to get to, but you just have to put in the time to do it. So
awesome. So so before we end it here, is there anything else that I missed that you wanted to talk about or bring up? Any points or anything?
No, and I'm glad you brought up the automation, because I was like, prior to this, I was like, okay, I got to learn how to code. And and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I've taken coding classes and I'm just kind of like not getting it. But I'm like, once I learn the manual, I do plan on, because I know that my company does pay for, your education and things. So I was like, later on, I'll go ahead and take some more classes, because I'm determined I have to learn how to code. So yeah.
No, you would. I mean, trust me, and I'm excited what I'm hearing. I'm encouraged, because it's the same. I believe it's the same drive that got you to where you are today, as far as the manual testing is concerned. That's gonna take the automation. Automation might seem like this huge, hairy thing. I started the same way. I just started taking basic classes, learning Python, learning Selenium, WebDriver, because you have to kind of understand Python basics in order to do Selenium WebDriver, and just kind of go from there. So I think a great starting point, now that we're talking about automation here, is, does your company, or do they use any automation tools today? Are they automating any of the testing?
Well, I'm still kind of new, so I'm not really sure if they do it.
No, it's fine. Right? So once you do find out, Rob, and this for everyone else on here, once you find out what tools they're using, that's a great place to start, right?
Okay.
Right. So it's it's easy to say, okay, let me go learn all this code and all these other tools. But what if your company's not using that? So you're not going to be able to apply it immediately.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's always good to say, hey, they're using this automation tool. Let me learn manual testing. Let me learn the automation tool they're using today, because now you can begin to use it.
Yeah.
Because even if I go out there and learn some tool that my company might not be using, how do I use it on a daily basis? You're going to forget it. That's what happens all the time. Right. You kind of start where you are, use what you got. Let's just encourage you, right? If they have some automation tools, use that. And if they don't, now you can talk to your team leads, your manager, and just kind of say, okay, what are our plans for automation, right? And that's going to kind of help you. Well, one more thing I just remember right now, on our Testdemy course, there's a part of it where we have all these questions to ask your interviewer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Did you leverage any of that? Because I know a lot of times I always encourage people, whenever you're doing interviews, right? Sometimes it's not only the questions you're answering, you're given, but sometimes the questions you ask your interviewer that kind of makes you stand out. They're going to be like, oh, wow, nobody ever asked me that question before. And right there in that mind, you already stood out. So was there any questions from that list we provided and you kind of leveraged?
I'm probably did, but I also I use so many different resources.
Good. Okay.
I looked at other videos. There's some good stuff on TikTok as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there you go. TikTok for the win.
Yeah. So I was I had 5 different interviews. So obviously I was asking like 3 or 4 questions in each one of those interviews. So I'm pretty sure I did, but I just don't remember.
No, that's good. It's good, and it's amazing, man. Because I think you did pick a great company, because it shows you how thorough that company is on the interview process. They just didn't pick anybody off one interview. For them to go through 5 different interviews, that means there's a lot of things that you might have you had to have shown them that they really wanted you to keep coming back, because the company's not going to call you after interview 1, after interview 2. Somewhere along the process, if you don't pass, they cut you off. I've never seen, most of mine were probably 3 or 2 at the most.
Mm-hmm.
5 is pretty extensive, man. So
oh yeah, it was 5, and I'm pretty sure they do. Going back to what you were saying, I'm pretty sure they do automation, but I'm still kind of new, so I'm not really sure because they're a very large company. So I'm sure they do.
Yeah, and the good thing about being a large company, right? It's exciting because you have an opportunity for career growth and a lot of things of that nature, right? So, but anyway, Robin, I know your time is crucial. It's almost 9 a.m. Central, right, which is 10 a.m. On the East Coast. So just want to thank you again for your time. Again, congratulations for the interview. Thanks for reaching out. And I'm glad we can kind of play, even if it was a little bit of a role in your, next level as far as your QA career is concerned. So if you guys are interested, testdemy.teachable.com. And I want to thank you again, Rob, because when she had got the position, I was so excited. First of all, I was because like I said, when people say they want a job and they go interview for them to come back and say they got it, I was just like, what? So I'm like, oh wow, I was so excited. So I want to thank you again because she did not even have to do this interview. I kind of asked her, hey, would you mind, just kind of sharing, encouraging other people. So I want to thank you once again for taking out your time out of a busy day.
Oh, no problem. I didn't mind at all.
Yeah, because a lot of people that are going to watch this, because I can say things, but I've already kind of going along my journey. But since you're kind of starting along yours as far as QA is concerned, somebody else is going to see this and say, oh, wow, I was in a similar position as Robin, and now I can kind of use this as a boost with their confidence, right? And see that's one of somebody that, hey, you're in similar shoes. So that's why I think it's important to do this interview. So thank you once again for your time. Thank you, everybody, again. I'm going to leave some information in the comments below. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But thank you again, and you guys have a wonderful day. All right?
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Give me 1 second. Let me pause this.